There's this amazing YouTube channel by Paul McWhorter where he creates this comprehensive playlist teaching you all the ins and outs of working with and coding an Arduino. And if you watch his videos, you can see he teaches you how to code and wire an Arduino to do things like count in binary with an LED. And he does this by having you purchase the same Arduino starter kit that he's using while making his videos. But you can actually do this for free using the online software Autodesk TinkerCAD. And in this video, I will show you how. So the first thing you need to do is go to tinkercad.com, and you need to make sure you have yourself a free Autodesk education license. As long as you can prove you're attending school, Autodesk will give you a 1-year free license for every year you are attending school. But once you have that account set up, go ahead and log in using that account. You can see that it asks you to log in using your Autodesk information. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And in the design workspace, I'm going to go ahead and hit create and go to circuit. And now I'm in the circuit workspace. And so what can I do in here? Well, I can drag in a virtual Arduino as well as a virtual breadboard, although I won't need this for this video. But if you look in the search bar, there are bigger breadboards. If you just type in the word breadboard, you can see they have a longer one that you can also use if you prefer. I can actually move my screen around by scrolling in and out or clicking on the background. I can drag the screen around. If I click on the object, I will move that around. I can bring in an LED. I can bring in a resistor. And so you can see if I click on the background, I move the whole screen, but if I click on the object and drag it, then I just move that one thing. If you look up here, I can actually rotate an object as needed. Specifically on LEDs, I can change the color. If I click on my resistor, you can see that it's measured in 1 kilo ohm. If I want to change that, I can change the type of ohm from kilo ohm to regular ohm, and then I can make it 330, which is the standard resistor you will be using in Paul McWhorter's playlist, by the way. And I can also rotate this as needed. You can see I can also drop in comments for myself if I want to leave myself a note about my circuit. And so basically this software is limitless in what you can do, but it's all virtual, and therefore you don't have to spend all the money that you would need to normally to go through this amazing YouTube playlist. And so let's go ahead and click on code. Now, I'm going to go from blocks to text because that's what Paul McWhorter teaches you, is using text-based code. It's going to give you a warning saying, hey, you're going to lose all of your progress if you change it. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And you can see it actually already starts with a code. And if I go ahead and hit start simulation, you can see what it does. It just basically tells this built-in LED on the Arduino to start blinking. And if I were to download the code, which you can actually do, and then upload it to an actual physical Arduino, that light on the Arduino would actually start blinking. And so how does this code work? Well, if you look at the top, it's setting up my pin so that I can work with it. And then using that pin, I can set it to high, which turns the light on. And then it says delay for 1000, which means 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. And then set the LED to low or off, and then delay for 1000 milliseconds or just 1 second. And you can see it says loop, and so it loops this code forever. And so if I click start simulation, you can see it blinks forever as long as the code is on. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop simulation. And so what if I want to change this? What if I wanted to change this to say pin 13? And so if I change LED built in to 13, on all 3 lines that have the term LED built in typed in, and I hit start, you can see nothing actually changes here. What happens if I change it to 12? And I hit start simulation. you can see nothing is actually happening. And that's because that built-in LED that you start with, let me go ahead and hit undo until it fixes itself back to where it was. This LED built in is actually coded as the same as pin 13. And so what does that mean? Well, if I click on my LED and I connect the left side, which is the short side, to my ground, and I connect the right side, or the long leg, which is the positive, to pin 13, and I hit start simulation, you can see that this light actually turns on and off just like this light. So basically pin 13 is the built-in LED as well. But you can see I'm getting a warning message that's saying basically the current is too high and this LED would likely burn out if you were to try this in the real world. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop simulation. And so the reason why that's happening is I connected this directly to the Arduino and all of the voltage coming out of it without putting any current limiting resistors in here. So I'm actually going to click on this green wire connected to pin 13 and I'm going to hit delete. And instead I'm going to connect this anode to the resistor and then the resistor to pin 13, and I'm going to hit start simulation again. And if we look at it now, we don't get that little error message. If I hit stop simulation, I can actually click on this wire and click on the end, and I can drag it to some other pin, let's say just 12. If I hit start simulation now, you'll see the built-in LED is turning on, but not this LED up here that we built. And so if I go back to my code, well, that's because it's saying the LED built in. If I were to type in 12 instead for all three of these and hit start simulation, you'll see this LED will turn on, but not this one. And so playing around with this software in this way kind of gives us a feel of how this software works. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop simulation, and I'm actually going to close out my code. But before you're ready to go through Paul McWhorter's YouTube playlist in TinkerCAD, there's a couple more tricks I want to show you. I've already showed you how you can go searching for different components within the software. So if I'm looking for something that he's using in the video, like in his 8th tutorial video, he uses an oscilloscope, and I can actually type that in and find it and drag it in. And so anytime you're looking for any of the components that he uses in his videos, you can usually find it within the component list of the software. On things like LEDs, sometimes it's convenient to have the anode and the cathode flipped. You can rotate it to make that happen, or you can just hit the mirror button, which makes the longer leg of the LED now flipped over. And then the very last thing I want to show you is something that'll help you with organization whenever you're dealing with some of the more complicated circuits, whenever he has all kinds of wires everywhere. You can actually change the color of your wires. And this, as you'll see, can be super helpful in making sure you know exactly which wire you're looking at whenever you're dealing with a whole bunch of wires. But with this, you are ready to start working on virtual Arduinos with Paul McWhorter within his playlists. Go ahead and save this document. Let's call it Tutorial 0. Just to differentiate from the other files that you'll be working for with him, you can create a new one each time and call them Tutorial 1, Tutorial 2, Tutorial 3, and so on. And if you look, if I click on the TinkerCAD logo, it'll take me back to my design page. I can click Designs and scroll down to Circuits, and you can see that that is now saved. And all circuits that I create while following along with this playlist will all be saved here.